map right here. There's Lima. 60% of Peru is, well, here the coast is all dry desert. Then there's the Andes Mountains, many of the peaks of which are over 20,000 feet. And then 60% of Peru is the Amazon jungle. And it's not just the Amazon jungle, it's the upper Amazon jungle, because the Amazon is 3,000 miles to the east, the mouth of the Amazon. And by the time you get up into these, into the furthest reaches of the Amazon, that was the least explored parts of the Amazon. And probably the least explored of all those areas was this southeastern region of Peru here. So as I mentioned, the South American coast, for those who've been down there, it's a bone dry desert. There's the Humboldt Current, which comes up from the south from the Antarctic, and it's so cold that water does not evaporate into the air, and there's no rainfall basically. So it's kind of like the Sahara Desert. Then there's the Andes, the western side of which are pretty dry. And then you go down the eastern Andes, you run into the cloud forest, and you run into the Amazon jungle. And all the moisture from there comes from the east, from the trade winds that blow in from the Atlantic Ocean. So it's a very diverse and very stark and extreme group of environments that comprise the country of Peru. And just to get an idea of the size of Peru geographically compared to a country like the United States, you can see that all that biodiversity is kind of squished into a country that's really a fraction of the size of the United States, but has much greater biodiversity than the entire United States, in fact, all of North America. So conservation-wise, Peru is called one of the hotspot countries for biodiversity. There's certain countries in the world, certain areas of the world that have huge biodiversity. Peru is one of them. So going back to Peru, as I said, the coast area is bone dry desert, just like in the Sahara. And there's the Andes and there's the Amazon. And the thing about the desert is kind of like the Nile River in Egypt. And everybody knows the Nile River in Egypt, floods, that kind of thing, and that provides water in a desert area. And around that river, civilization arose because people figured out how to use the water and grow plants. And it's a very similar kind of thing happened in the bone dry desert of the Peruvian coast, which is all sand, except it's bisected by these little rivers coming out of the Andes. And in every one of those little river valleys, people started to settle once they discovered agriculture, and they started to form little towns and little city states and that kind of thing. And these are just some of the names of the rivers, and actually a lot of them are the cultures that lived, that arose in these areas on this desert coast. So that was one of the cradles of civilization, not just in Peru, but around the world. Another feature you have in Peru, I think I mentioned, is that you have the Humboldt Current coming up from Antarctica. And one of the things that it flows up north and bends around here, but it brings up huge upwellings of nutrients from the Arctic region. And that has fueled one of the biggest or most biodiverse fisheries in the world.